Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have the IRS unable to locate millions of tax records, according to a watchdog. Now, this is thanks to a news report over at Politico, which on average is a little bit more left-leaning, but still has some good raw data. And of course, I always tell people, when you look at all these things, look at both sides of the political aisle, make sure you have multiple sources, see what you think, so you can get a more rounded opinion. Now, it looks like specifically the IRS lost track of millions of sensitive individual and business tax records that should have been transferred from a closing agency facility in California. And it was also unable to locate thousands upon thousands of records that were stored in a facility in Utah. Now, this is actually part of a review where the IRS has a mandatory storage of old tax records and actually put them in microfilm backup cartridges. Now, some people might say it's antiquated and bad to have those. Personally, I love that because physically speaking, it's great for your taxes because the cost of tape backup and microfilm backup is very cheap compared to if you do a flash memory, think of a flash drive or even a spinning disk. That cost is much more expensive. And most of this data, it could be stale in terms of you don't need it immediately, which is what you're paying for when you need a flash memory. And it's also pretty secure because it's off the network. Now, it's one of those things where if we make a mistake, we'll be put in prison for the IRS. That's why I always tell people, get a great accountant, whether you're an individual or own a business. And remember, if you own a business or you're a 1099, whatever your situation is, the receipts you have to keep them for 7 years. If you lose them, they would put you in prison if the numbers didn't add up. Think about that. You have to keep it for 7 years. You have to have, and ideally, to be safe, I tell people to have 2 or 3 physical copies. So take a photocopy, print it out, take that copy, put it at another off-site location. Also scan it to a computer, put it on a flash drive, put it in the cloud. And again, you have to have that for 7 years. It's your responsibility. You mess up, you go to jail. The government, they mess up, and I guarantee no one's going to lose their job over this because they have unprecedented levels of job security. Now, in terms of the quantifiable numbers, it looks like Watchdog said that they found 7 empty boxes at an IRS facility over in Ogden, Oregon, that should have contained a backup of 168 microfilm cartridges, which holds up to 2,000 photographic images each, and that the IRS personnel there were unable to point where the location of cartridges is. Because it's probably, just like the post office, unparalleled job security. You just have to have tenure. You really don't have to have performance most of the time. And it looks like the IRS also can't find any cartridges containing tax records from the fiscal year 2010 that's supposed to be transferred over to the Kansas City Processing Center from its processing center in Fresno, California. And of course, all this has sensitive information. It's got your social, if you're not a business and you're submitting as an individual and you're doing taxes, you have Social Security. If you're a business, you're having an EIN number. So it's fascinating to see the public sector have yet another business blunder of the day, though this is, I would argue, a political blunder, of course, because it's a political agency. And of course, no oversight, no discipline, no one will ever get in trouble. Must be nice. No accountability. But I digress. Thank you, everyone, again, for taking the time to tune in. Really want to appreciate you clicking that subscribe button. Trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the month. We greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget to take the time to like as well as comment. Those also greatly appreciate. Really make the content a lot better as you appreciate the critical feedback. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone to stay safe and fight the good fight.